Yeah, I just got a text saying you got community attendance waiting.
I don't see anybody here.
So, like, did you go the right way?
Let's end this. Shalom. Looks like somebody's here. I'm getting started. End meeting. And I go to my meeting, new meeting. Should be 303-582-4015.
Yeah, but you gotta go in a certain way.
Oh, that's right. You
gotta go in from the,
Okay. That's not where you went last week. Meetings. I'll be here in a second. Okay, we're getting started. Shabbat Shalom. I am really I'm hyped about the day. Really hyped. I was in doing a walk this morning. I had a conversation with somebody about our faith, and because she saw my shirt and was like, "Are you Christian? You're a Christian, right?" So I told her that I was a Hebrew and had to elaborate on that. And it put me in a mood. I was on fire. And so I had listened to something this morning. I was reading something this morning and before my walk. And so when I got out, it was like something that was in my heart that I wanted to put out. So she got a preview of coming attractions and what was going to happen today. So, shalom. Shalom. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. Let's get here so I can see you. Shabbat shalom. Yeah, it's good to see you today. It's good to see you today. Welcome to the Ark of New Jersey. So, before I get started, somebody already made mention of my shirt. So, this is me, my shirt, my newest shirt. Ta-da! It's on the front, it's on the back. And it was designed by, can you see up in the corner there? Lauren. My daughter designed this, so I'm advertising for her. I'm modeling. So I'm grateful for the opportunity to model on behalf of Lauren and Fisha. So excited so excited. I have to slow me down. You ever have a word like Jeremiah says, I had a word burning in my soul like fire, which can't be contained. Fire in my soul can't contain and I can't control. Hallelujah. Got music in my head too. So Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. We had Asha on earlier, and I had to get off the line and get back on. So I'm trying to hope that we can get her back on. Let's see, make sure that she's okay with everything. So, this word that I want to share with you, I guarantee you, somebody's going to be like jaw-dropping moment in this session. Not that everybody is going to get, maybe everybody's going to get insight that they didn't get before, but there's going to be something that's going to pop. Because when I read this and looked at it, I'm like, oh, this is going to be like, all right, we have Bible scholars in the house. Everyone has read through the Exodus, right? Shamu. Everyone has read through that. Everyone knows some of it, if not all of it. Some words you can recite verbatim, like you can almost. Everybody saw the Ten Commandments. Everybody looked at the Ten Commandments and like, that part just wasn't right, or no, they did a pretty good job here. But when you get done, you're like, I thought that he put his hand in his shirt. I thought he put his hand in his shirt. I thought that was a dog. And it came out white. How come it's not happening here on this movie? Levi! Hey, buddy. My Levi just showed up. So we're going to get into a word. We're going to get into, I can't slow down. Did you ever get that fire inside of you and you just got to let it out? Well, I got to let it out. So let's go. Mm-hmm. I was going to go, boop, 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 boop. We're not doing that. Hallelujah. And part A, part B, Shabbat Shalom. Father, we come before you with a humble heart and a contrite spirit. We beseech your blessings on this Shabbat. We thank you, Toda Rabbah, for being in our life and allowing us to have an opportunity to worship you in the spirit and in truth, Yah. We are grateful for this time that we are spending together as your people. Continue to develop us, keep us, use us, and allow us to be the light in this dark world. Help us to demonstrate and manifest what truly is grace, what truly is your knowledge, what truly is your wisdom. And y'all, we pray for the ones that are part of us that are suffering physically, that you would bring back their strength. you bring life into our bodies, and you cause us to live by your breath. And we speak a breath of life into these to your people, the ones that are in the hospital, the ones that are at home sick. We pray, we pray right now, Yah, that you will revive them. And we do thank you, Yah. We thank you for the good things and the bad. We thank you for the corona, because that may be the tool used to awaken your people. And we're grateful, Yah, for the good things and the bad, knowing that you do all things well. Nothing takes you by surprise. Nothing comes in and you're not aware of it. You're aware of everything that's going on the outside, and you're aware of what's going on in the inside. When things are dark, you're aware. When things are light, you're aware. There's nothing so bright that you can't see, and nothing so dark that you can't illuminate. And so, Yah, we are that He will come, rest, rule, and abide right now. Direct us, guide us, and direct us, Yah, into all truth. Because it's truth will set you free. Not part truth, but all truth. As we dive into your word, Yah, just give us insight, give us strength, and give us encouragement. And during the course of this week, in Yeshua HaMashiach's name we pray. Hallelujah! 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 You're going to... Woo! All right, so the easy text, and then we're going to start out with something easy. Talahim 83. Hey, sir. Somebody? 83. So I'm going to hold true to one of my traditions for a moment, and I'm going to have Benjamin read for me. Okay. Who's in the room with you, Asha?
Okay, he's ready.
Asha.
I'm on for the two to come down. They should be down in a second.
Okay, because I need some brainiacs in here to help me out with this. Oh, not. I'm not saying you're not a brainiac. Okay. What I lose?
Election was it was like
You're back. Okay. All right, Benjamin, read for me, sir.
Lord, how are they increased that trouble me?
Oh, are you in 83?
Oh, 83. I thought you said 3. Sorry. No problem.
Hi, how are you? I hear voices, I don't see faces. That's okay. You there? Okay, go. Keep not silent.
Keep not thou silence, O God. Hold not thy peace, and be not still, O God. For lo, thy enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people, consulted against the hidden ones. They have said, Come, and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. But they have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate again.
Oh, we lost him. He went blank. What's with my thing? It just went
Both in heaven.
maybe I won't.
Amalek. The Philistines with the inhabitants of Tyre. Ashur also is joined with them. They have opened the children of Lot, Selah. Do unto them as unto the Midianites, as to Sisera, as to Jabin, as the brook of Kishon, which perished at Endor. They became as dung for the earth, making their nobles like Oreb and like sea. Yeah, all their princes as Seba and as Salmuna. Who said, let us take to ourselves the houses of God in our possession? Oh my God, make them like a wheel, as the stubble before the wind, as the fire burneth the wood, and as the flame setteth the mountains on fire. So persecute them with thy tempest, and make them afraid with thy storm. Fill their faces with shame, that they might seek thy name, O Lord. Let them be confounded and troubled forever. Yeah, let them be put to shame and perish. That men may know that thou, whose name alone is Jehovah, art the most high over all the earth.
Okay, so thank you, Toda Rabah. We just read through Telahim. Let's see if I put this in here. That's okay. Hopefully I spelled that right. Terrible trying to type. So today, I want to first say, excuse me, you guys, stay right there with me. Welcome to the Ark of New Jersey. Hallelujah for being here, for being a part of what we got going on today. I am grateful for, once again, for the opportunity to step into your living rooms and we can take a moment and break open the Word of Yah. I'm not going to try to rush you out, but I am going to try to get into the Word and get out of it as in due process. And I'm not even looking at the clock because there's some things I want to get done. And maybe we get done quickly, maybe it takes a little longer, but we'll let the Ruach control us. So thank you, Toda Rabah. I know that this is not the ideal way of seeing each other, but nevertheless, it is a way for us to connect. And I am grateful that you've taken apart time to be with us. And someone said to me on my Zoom that I look like, what's the guy's name? The actor, Samuel L. Jackson. So, what the MF are you talking about? Where is that? Because everything he says has got to say MF on it. It's like, can you just hold a sentence? Can you say one sentence without doing that? I've had people like in New York stop me and say, "Is that Samuel there?" I'm like, "I'm not him, thank you." But for a black person to say it, now I question you. I got to look at your race card. You got show me your license. Does it say black on it? All right. So I picked this verse out in particular because it's they have taken crafty counsel against your people and have consulted against your hidden ones. Okay, so we're already come to the acknowledgement that we are the hidden ones. And we are the ones that they've taken crafty counsel against. I would have to ask you, when is in history have you seen them taking crafty counsel to get rid of y'all's people? Where you can actually literally see it happening in the past. It's not us, but in the book.
Oh, in the book.
In the book.
So I'm not speak directly to Deuteronomy 28 and Galatians, right? And we came get into our book, and everybody white. So let's be where the Gentiles, and then our honor was just tainted from there, and it just went on forward.
And that's what got me excited to Trey. This morning when I was walking my dog, there was a female that I've seen walking, and she doesn't walk as much now because she's back to work. So I only see her on the weekends. And she by her testimony, she's a Christian. She takes her little rocks and she paints on the rocks and she writes little words on the rocks and then puts them on the park. And one day I saw her because I take my dog out and I take him off of the beaten course. And so sometimes I'm in the woods and they don't see me. And so she didn't see me. And when I came out, she was like, I kind of startled her. And I said, "Oh, you're the one." And she says, "You're the first person to catch me putting my rocks out." And the rocks are like, keep safe and love God and peace and all these little nice little cutie little things. And so she touched a nerve because she's one of the only people that I know as I walk through the park that will actually stop and say, "I've seen you all these times and I don't even know your name. What's your name?" Because I have people that walk past me every day, and you know what they will ask? "Oh, that's a cute dog. What's the dog's name?" And I'm like, "Okay, the dog's name is Nat." And so they will speak to Nat every morning, every time they say, "Hey, Nat. Oh, he's so cute." I'm like, Nat as a master. Nobody ever asked me. She's the only one that asked me for my name. And I came over and I said, "You know what? Something special about her." But to the point that she would actually take a moment and say, "What's your name?" And so I got her name. I actually messed it up. I messed up everybody's name, but her name is Tracy, and I said Stacy. So I was close. And she wanted to know, because I had Hebrew on my chest, right? She wanted to know, what is this about the blood and this Hebrew text and all? Are you a Christian? And so I got the opportunity to share with her a few things and let her, at the end of the day, know that we are the people and that they're not the people. And share a testimony with her without making it feel like I'm yelling at her and telling her, "You're evil because you're worshiping Jesus." Right? And yet share with her that she's learning something that's not right, but that's okay because I've been there. I've been 20, 30 years teaching and preaching and ministering to people. So I've been there, done that. So they've twisted script. And now if we say who we are, we anti-Semitic. Stupidity. So this incident right here in Psalms 83, we're gonna watch this actually pan itself out. But in a way, watch, and you gotta see this, because let's go to Exodus. Shemot, chapter 1. And I have one of my Telahim here, one of my disciples sitting right next to me, my son. So I'm going to have him read for me. That way everybody can hear nice and clear. chapter 1. And what we're going to do today is fill in the gaps. Read, Neil.
Now these are the names of the
Wait a minute. Everybody there? You guys all there? Please get yourself a pencil and a highlighter, because there's something that I want. You got to have it. Okay? Get yourself ready for this.
Now these are the names of the children of Yisra'el, which came into Mitzrayim. Every man and his household came with Yaakov, Reuben, Shimon, Levi, Yehuda, Yisra'el, Zebulun, Benjamin, Dan, Naphtali, Gad, and Asher. And all the souls that came out of the loins of Yaakov were 70 souls. For Yosef was in Mitzrayim already, and Yosef died, and all his brethren, and all that generation. And the children of Yisrael were fruitful, and increased abundantly, and multiplied, and waxed exceedingly mighty, and the land was filled with them. Now there arose up a new king over Mitzrayim, which knew not Yosef. And he said unto his people, Behold, the people of the children of Yisrael are more and mightier than we. Come on, let us deal wisely with them, lest they multiply, and it come to pass that when there falls out any war, they join also unto our enemies and fight against us.
What verse are you at?
10.
10. Okay, so the king rises up and he starts to make an adjustment in his kingdom. He's like, something's going on here. We got to figure this out, because they're rising up and they're getting stronger. But watch this. This is really good. Verse 10. Go back to 10 again.
Come on, let us deal wisely with them, lest they multiply, and it come to pass that when there falls out any war, they join also unto our enemies and fight against us, and so get them up out of the land.
So we're going to fill the gap. We're going to fill this gap here, and we'll watch when we get back. We're going to take off, but we're going to come back here. But
It's a business system. You recognize, you devise, and then you execute.
You recognize, you devise, and then you execute.
He recognized
that something was going to happen. There's something happening even in today, because there's too many people that want to vote one way, and so they're like, okay, let's stop this. Let's slow it down. Let's maybe not check them and make sure that they're registered. Let's cut off the mail-in votes. Let's maybe their names aren't registered right, because they're trying to make some adjustments because they have something else in their game plan. So let's go back to the text. Verse 11.
Therefore they did set over them taskmasters to afflict them with their burdens, and they built for Pharaoh treasure cities, Pithom and Ramak.
Okay, so that's Pithom and Ramsey. Ramak. That's the city of Ramses. Okay, so these were fortified, but we're going to get into it. Just hold on, it's coming.
But the more they afflicted them, the more they multiplied and grew, and they were grieved because of the children of Yisrael. And the Mitzrayim made the children of Yisrael to serve with rigor. And they made their lives bitter with hard bondage, in mortar and in brick, and in all manner of service in the fields. All their service wherein they made them serve was with rigor. And the king of Mitzrayim spoke to the ivory midwives, of which the name of one was Shiphrah, and the name of the other was Hua. And he said, when ye do the office of a midwife to the Ivrieth woman, and see them upon the stools, if it be a son, then ye shall kill him, but if it be a daughter, then she shall live. But the midwives feared Elohim and did not as the king of Mitzrayim commanded them, but saved the men children alive. And the king of Mitzrayim called for the midwives and said unto them, Why have ye done these things, and saved the men and children alive? And the midwives said unto Pharaoh, Because the Iriath women are not as the Mitzrayim women, for they are lively, and they delivered, or the midwives come in unto them. Therefore Elohim dealt with the midwives, and the people multiplied and waxed very mighty. And it came to pass, because of the midwives feared Elohim, that he made them houses. And Pharaoh charged all his people, saying, Every son that is born ye shall cast into the river, and every daughter ye shall save alive.
Okay, so that sounds like you've all read this. Everyone knows this, right? You've been there, done this. So you're like, okay, I've read that before. Let me ask you, have you read through Jasher? Because that's where we're going now. Okay, so let's go to Jasher. 65. Now, if you know anything about some of the books that are in the Apocrypha, some of them highlight or bring more insight into certain things that you've read, but they just give you a little bit more insight. There's a reason that some of these books were removed from out of the quote-unquote canon, out of the Bible. They were there, and then they were removed. Why is that a problem? Because in Revelations, he says, you're not to take, add, or remove anything from out of my books, because if you do, the plagues come upon you. So you got books that were canonized, as they want to call it, and then they removed them and gave you the 66 and said, that's it, stick with that. And no one can tell you anything more than, well, the council of such and such said, they said so. So what made, those are the same people that said Sunday's a worship day. They're the same people that have hoodwinked and bamboozled you to believe in Jesus. Now, when you read through this is going to give you more insight of what is actually, what did Exodus Shemot 1 actually say. And it shall come to pass after these things, come on, Neil,
that all the councils of Pharaoh, king of Mitzrayim, and all the elders of Mitzrayim assembled and came before the king and bowed down to the ground, and they sat before him. And the counselors and elders of Mitzrayim spake unto the Pharaoh, saying, Behold, the people of the children of Israel is greater and mightier than we, and thou knowest all the evil which they did to us in the road when we returned from battle.
Okay, so stop, hold up there now. Pharaoh comes along and says, I need counsel from all of my people. So he calls the elders, and they assemble together, because he, the king, he gets bowed down to, right? And he has the elders and the council comes, verse 2, and watch what happens, because he says, behold, the people of Israel are getting greater. This is going to give you real good evidence that we the people. You take a people from their land and you place them in a foreign land, you take away their language, you take away their any way that they would be able to worship, any way that they would be able to get any kind of an increase, and you wipe them down to nothing, and then you got these people that pretty much have nothing, and they depend upon you to survive. You take those people, and in a few years, those people come out of slavery and develop their own cities. Okay, they went from, let's stop them. Let's not teach them how, let's not let them know how to read. Let's get the books away from them. Okay, that didn't work. They started reading. Okay, all right, give them just, we'll let them even come into our religion, but we're going to teach them how to worship.
There's something.
Yeah.
I just got some don't understand. There's a whole bunch of feedback coming from you. They can hardly hear what you're saying. You got everything turned on, muted.
No. Which one? The YouTube or
He's got Coco. Oh, she's on there.
She's on Zoom. Can you guys hear me okay on Zoom?
Now much better. I don't know what you did, but it's better. We can hear you, but you were just breaking up like a robot.
Okay. Just let me know if there's something happening. Okay, so you take away your language. They start learning your language. They start learning to read. You tell them that they can't read. They start reading, and then you take away the book. They got what they call the Negro book Bible. You give them a piece of the Bible, but you try to teach them how, try to keep them in check so that they don't learn all of it, right? You try not to let them grow or to mature in any way where they look like they're on their own. They get to the point where you abolish slavery and you release them and you don't give them anything, and you figure they can't survive. There's no way possible that you survive out there when you don't have anything. You start setting up rules to start locking them up because they can't. You need them to work for you, and so you put them back in prison, and then you do everything you can to stop them. Everything, literally everything. You take them and tie their legs to different horses and send the horses in 4 different directions, their arms, their legs, and so you use their babies as alligator meat because you looked in the Bible and you found out in the past they used them for crocodile meat, and you're like, okay, so what more? Well, let's divide the family so they'll have a male in the house and do everything that you can possibly do to destroy them. And yet we rise. And yet we rise. And yet we rise. You start a basketball league and you say they can't play. And then you finally end up putting them on the league, and now they're the best players out there. You start a football team and say you can be the grunters, on the line, but you can't be a quarterback because you're not smart enough. And the best quarterbacks that are playing in the league today are black quarterbacks. You've done everything you can to try to stop them from rising. And the reason why they keep rising is because Yah has placed something in them to make them even more powerful than anything that you can imagine. And that's why we keep rising. That's why we keep rising. No matter what they do to us, they can't destroy us. I feel like preaching today. I don't feel like teaching. I feel like preaching. Yah is getting ready to do something even more magnificent now. Yah getting ready to do something even more magnificent now. Watch this. Watch what we're reading. I don't even know where we at. These people are strong, are mightier. They're more mightier than us. Whenever anyone says this, people get offended. If you say that Yah has placed something in us to make us more powerful than others, you're like, oh, now you're trying to say you're greater than us. Oh, you're saying you're better than us. I'm just saying what the book says. He took these people and watch what he does to these people. And you're going to, and this is not the meat or whatever. This is the preview. Where are we at?
4.
Watch this. Watch this.
And thou hast seen their strong power, for this power is unto them from their fathers.
It's from your fathers. Yah has given us something. It's been ingrained in us that we will rise. We will rise. You can kill one of us, but you can't kill all of us. And Yah is showing that I have placed something in you. You are special. You are set apart, special people, what they call a peculiar people. And you have seen that there's strong power, and that this power is given to them from their fathers.
For but a few men stood up against a people numerous as the sand, and smote them at the edge of the sword. And of themselves not one has fallen. So that if they had been numerous, they would then have utterly destroyed them. Now therefore give us counsel what to do with them, until we gradually destroy them from amongst us, lest they become too numerous for us in the land.
Okay, so to get to that chapter 65, you would have to read the other book chapters getting up there, and you will have seen the life of Joseph. And Joseph went into the city for, he was sold into slavery. Let's do it this way. He may have been sold into slavery, but he rose up and became the second in the kingdom. So Joseph already started showing something in him. Something was in his seed. When his brothers came along, they all had the same something in their seed. They stayed with him, and they developed an agreement. And this should be something that we should learn today. When you start to make an agreement with some people will tell you, don't get them all riled up, because we need them to stand alongside us. You want the Jewish community to be alone because they suffer too. And you don't want to alienate yourself from them, right? Okay, you follow the script, because when we did align ourselves with the Hamites end up, I'm not even going to say it, I'm going to read it, because if I say it, you'll say, oh, that's just elder coming out of pocket. Nope, I want you to listen to the text.
For if the children of Yisra'el shall increase in the land, they will become an obstacle to us. And if any war should happen to take place, they with their great strength will join our enemy against us and fight against us, destroy us from the land and go away from it.
That's verse 6. Verse 7.
So the king answered the elders of Mitzrayim and said unto them, this is the plan advised against Israel, from which we will not depart. Behold, in the land are Python and Ramses.
Python and Ramses. We just read through that. Exodus 1, those same two verses, two cities, right? Come on, let's read.
Behold, in the land are Python and Ramses, cities unfortified against battle. It behooves you and us to build them and to fortify them. Now, therefore, go you also and act cunningly toward them, and proclaim a voice in Egypt and in Goshen, at the command of the king, saying, all men of Mitzrayim, Goshen, Pharohs, and all their inhabitants, the king has commanded us to build Python and Ramses and to fortify them for battle. Who amongst you of all Mitzrayim of all the children of Yisra'el and of all the inhabitants of the cities are willing to build with us, shall each have his wages given to him daily at the king's order. So you first and do cunningly gather yourselves and come to Pithom and Ramses to build.
Okay, so here you go. You don't have to do that right now. So they made an agreement and they started paying them. You know, some of us are excited about getting paid, right? Fall in alignment with them, so that because I got to get paid, right? Some of us reject truth because we don't want the recourse of they may take my money from me. I may lose my job. So watch what happens, because this gets really. I'm not going to interrupt a lot more on this chapter because I got another chapter to go to. but okay, so we're going to start building these cities, and let's get in alignment. Let's be crafty about our alignment, and let's get them to work with us. They weren't slaves at this time. Let's get this in our picture. They weren't slaves. They were residents. They were united in like the United States. They were residents. They weren't slaves. So let's go. Where we at? 11.
And whilst you are building, cause a proclamation of this kind to be made throughout Mitzrayim every day at the command of the Pharaoh. And when some of the children of Yisrael shall come to build with you, you shall give them their wages daily for a few days. And after they shall have built with you for their daily hire, drag yourselves away from the daily one by one, and in secret. And then you shall rise up and become their taskmasters and officers, and you shall leave them afterward to build without wages.
Do you see what happened? Do you see what's happening? So you started out, and we all in this thing together. Okay. So you started out. Are you better now? Okay. And we're all in this thing together. And then all of a sudden, what happened to Frank? Oh, he got the day off. He come in the next day. What about that guy, Joe Bob? Oh, he took the day off too. And to you get to the point that the only people who were working were Hebrews. Rowboat. So that's a game we play. He keeps giving me rowboat. So as time went on, something was happening. They started removing all the, so more of us got jobs. The unemployment rate for the Hebrews was off the chain. Everybody was getting a job. Almost everyone was getting a job, because there was a certain people that said, I ain't working for them. You watch this, because this is something that you don't get out of when you're reading through your Bible. There was a certain people in Israel that said, I'm not working. A certain tribe, certain part of them that said, I'm out. I ain't going up there. And guess what? Y'all place some type of a blinder on their eyes so that they never even bother them. It's when you compromise is when you get yourself in the situation that you're in. Most of us have compromised and said, you know what? I don't usually work on Sunday, but the NBA paid me too much money. I'm going out and working on that Sunday. And you don't even have the day right. But you started compromising. So now that you say that you're Hebrew and you're worshiping on Saturday, they're like, no, we want your butt on that court today. And you know what? Because you compromise, you actually think you got to go. Verse
14.
14.
Well,
Did
we finished?
13.
Yeah, we didn't finish.
Okay, go back to 13.
And after they shall have built with you from their daily hire, drag yourselves away from them daily, one by one, in secret. And then you shall rise up and become their taskmasters and officers, and you shall leave them afterward to build without wages. And should they refuse, then force them with all your might to build.
Side note, whenever we take an allegiance with the foreigner, there's always something that happens. The foreigner always try to take charge. Let me be the boss. Let me supervise. It's like, and this happens, and we're so quick to jump on board. Like sometimes we're like, oh, we got them living with us. Let them be the boss. Okay, deal with it. Verse 14.
And if you do this, it will be well with us to strengthen our land against the children of Yisra'el. For on account of the fatigue of the building and the work, and the children of Yisra'el will decrease, because you will deprive them from their wives day by day.
I will work their butts off. I'm going to work their butts off so bad, they ain't going to be going home. They're going to go home and say, "Hun, not tonight. I'm tired." Wrong. You got the wrong people.
After we work the party.
You're going to work us until the sun go down. But when I see you know that's happening. We ain't that tired. I'm not tired yet. I'm not tired yet. But they may be tired. Yisra'el says, I'm not tired yet. And they get it, they're getting it in. Despite what else is going on. They're like, okay, this is my only reprieve for the day. I have been sweating my butt off all day. But I ain't letting loose of the booty. Verse 15.
And all the elders of Mitzrayim heard the counsel of the king, and the counsel seemed good in their eyes, and in the eyes of the servants of Mitzrayim, and in the eyes of all of Mitzrayim. And they did according to the word of the Pharaoh. And all the servants went away from the Pharaoh, and they caused a proclamation to be made in all Egypt, and the Tappankes, and in Goshen, and in the cities which surrounded Egypt, saying, You have seen what the children of Esau and Ishmael did to us, who came to war against us and wished to destroy us. Now,
okay, the children of Esau. This is important. I didn't just stop it just because I saw the word Esau. The children of Esau. Esau's our cousins, right? They're fighting against these Hamites, right? So they're like, that's why they're like, if we let them grow too much, they may be like, you know what? We got blood over here fighting against you guys, and you guys are starting to be wicked. Maybe we need to fight with the children of Esau. All right. So they keep coming. They said, have you seen what the children of Esau and Yishmael did to us? And they'll go ahead. Verse 18.
Now, therefore, the Pharaoh commanded us to fortify the land, to build the cities of Pithom and Ramses, to fortify them for battle, if they should come against us. Whosoever of you from all Egypt, from the children of Yisra'el, who come to build with us, he shall have his daily wages given by the king, and his command is unto us. When Mitzrayim and all the children of Yisrael heard all the servants of Pharaoh had spoken, there came from the Mitzrayims and the children of Yisrael to build with the servants of Pharaoh, Python and Ramses, but none of the children of Levi came with their brethren to build.
Hold up there. None of the children of the Levi. They're like, I'm out. But in Israel, a lot of us jumped on board so we can get paid. They didn't realize what they were walking into the trap. But the children of the Levites never lift a hand, never shoveled the dirt, never dig the ditch. The children of Levi kept themselves away from that mess. And Yah honored that. Read more. 21.
And all the servants of Pharaoh and his princes came at first with deceit to build with all Yisra'el as daily hired laborers. And they gave to Yisra'el their daily hire at the beginning. And the servants of Pharaoh built with all Yisra'el and were employed in that work with Yisra'el for a month.
They were employed. They were getting paid for a month. They were getting paid until the banks ran dry. The economies are kind of tight here. We can't afford to pay you all this week. I don't know if any of you have ever been in a situation where the company was just barely making it. I was in a company where we were all getting paid, and we were like, I'm going to wait until lunchtime so that I'm going to hold off my lunch until I get paid. And as soon as we got paid, we rushed to the bank because the last one may not have gotten. I was the first one in the car. I need my money, and I was flying to the bank because there were times when somebody went to the bank and was like, yo, they said there wasn't enough funds in the account. That's pretty bad, right? You work for it, you're expecting to get paid, and then you find out that there's not enough money to cover for you. So these people were like, maybe they were running on a tight budget. Did we reach 25 yet?
No. We were at 23.
Okay, 23.
They got paid for a month in 22. And at the end of the month, all the servants of Pharaoh began to withdraw secretly from the people of Yisrael daily. And Yisrael went on with the work at the time, but they then received their daily hire because some of the men of Mitzrayim were yet carrying on the work with Yisrael at the time. Therefore, the Egyptians gave Yisrael their hire in these days, and in order to that the Egyptians, their fellow workmen, might also take pay from their labor. And at the end of a year, 4 months, all the Egyptians had withdrawn from the children of Yisrael, so that the children of Yisrael were left alone, engaged in the work. And after all the Egyptians had withdrawn from the children of Yisrael, they returned and became oppressors and officers over them. And some of them stood over the children of Yisrael as taskmasters to receive from them all that they gave them for their pay of their labor. And the Egyptians did in this manner to the children of Yisrael day by day, in order to afflict in their work. And all the children of Yisrael were alone, engaged in the labor, and the Egyptians refrained from giving any pay to the children of Yisrael from that time forward.
So then they went into complete slavery. So you've had people that were working with them, and then you realize, well, how come he's no longer working with us? And then he came back, and now he's my boss. You weren't working that good when you were with me. Now you just left, and now you come back and you're the boss?
I don't know, we all been in that situation.
We've been in that situation, right? Where he wasn't that good when he was with us, and now how are you going to be the boss?
That was the worst employee. Now he's
So we're seeing the same thing happening today. It's like, how did he get to be a supervisor? Is he sleeping with the boss's wife or something? And you're trying to figure it out because it doesn't really make sense unless you can look at what happened before. History has the same thing, like it's cyclical too. If you don't pay attention, you're gonna find yourself in the same rut. We're gonna be right back in it again. And it took 1 year and 4 months, and eventually it worked its way in where only we were working. I was like, no one ever thought like, yeah, it's just us. Now, here's the trick. They were all black, so nobody's looking around saying, well, the white guy's doing this. No, because it's Hebrews and Egyptians. So we're looking around and we're not like, okay, well, why is maybe they pulled the wool over on us. 29.
And when some of the men of Yisra'el refused to work on account of the wages not being given to them, then the extractors and the servants of Pharaoh oppressed them and smote them with heavy blows and made them return by force to do labor with their brethren. Thus did all the Egyptians unto the children of Yisrael all the days. And after the children of Yisrael were greatly afraid of the Egyptians in this matter, and all the children of Yisrael returned and worked alone without pay. And the children of Yisrael built Python and Ramses. And the children of Yisrael did the work, making bricks and some building. And the children of Yisrael built and fortified all the land of Egypt and its walls. And the children of Yisrael were engaged in work for many years until the time came when the Lord remembered them and brought them out of Mitzrayim.
Oh, the time is coming. The time is coming. But the next verse. But
the children of Levi were not employed in the work with their brethren of Yisrael from the beginning unto the day of their going forth from Mitzrayim. For all the children of Levi knew that the Egyptians had spoken all these words with deceit to the Israelites. And therefore the children of Levi refrained from approaching to the work with their brethren. And the Egyptians did not direct their attention to make the children of Levi work afterward, since they had not been with their brethren at the beginning. Therefore the Egyptians left them alone.
Is that great? He was like, they didn't even come after him. They just left them alone because they were never expected them to come out and to do what they've already said, we're not doing it. They didn't compromise. They never compromised their walk. And this action was something that showed the benefit of being called out and be special. Some things don't compromise because Yah has put you in a special spot. He did something with them where they didn't even give them, like, we got enough problems. We got enough headaches. We ain't got to worry about the Levites. We know they ain't working anyway. Verse 32, 35.
And the hands of the men of Mitzrayim.
34?
34.
34.
And the Egyptians did not direct their attention to make the children of Levi work afterward, since they had not been with their brethren at the beginning. Therefore the Egyptians left them alone. And the hands of the men of Egypt were directed with continued severity against the children of Yisrael in the work, and the Egyptians made the children of Yisrael work with vigor. And the Egyptians embittered their lives of the children of Yisrael with hard work and mortar and bricks, and also in all manner of work in the field. And the children of Yisrael called Melel the king of Egypt, Megar king of Egypt, Merer, because in the days the Egyptians had embittered their lives with all manner of work. You find out what Merer means?
It means bitterness.
And all the work wherein the Egyptians made the children of Yisrael labor and extracted with rigor, and in order to afflict the children of Yisrael. But the more they afflicted them, the more they increased and grew, and the Egyptians were grieved because of the children of Yisrael.
The more they grew, the more they grew. I have to take you here because the story just gets, this is all in between Shemot 1 and Shemot 2. And this is what, like, it doesn't give you in the canon, the 66 books, it doesn't give you much more insight of what's happening and how it all unfolded. We're going to skip 66. You can read it if you want on your own. But we're going to jump over to 67 because 67 is going to be this is the aha moment. There's a sermon inside of a sermon in 67. So
There was a man in the land of Mitzrayim of the seed of Levi, whose name was Amram.
now this guy was a Levite, so he wasn't part of the workers, right?
The son of Kehath, the son of Levi, the son of Yisra'el. And this man went and took a wife named Jochebed, the daughter of Levi, his father's sister. And she was 126 years old.
She 126. See, Austin, there's still room time for you. She's 126 years old, and she go ahead.
And he came unto her.
And he came into her.
And the woman conceived and bare a daughter. She called her name Miriam.
She 126 years old. She had a baby. That's crazy, right? Come on.
Because in those days the Egyptians had embittered the lives of the children of Israel. And she conceived again.
Go ahead.
And she conceived again and bare a son, and she called his name Aaron. For in the days of her conception, Pharaoh began to spill the blood of male children of Israel.
Everybody know who she is now, right?
And
I'm waiting for an answer.
Yes.
Somebody.
Yes.
Who are we talking about?
Moses' mother.
Right. So we're talking about Moses' grandparents giving birth to Moses' brother and Moses' mother. Right, Con? Thank you.
No,
Oh. Let's get this right. To his grandparents gave birth to his mother, and his mother gave birth to whatever, his brother and his sister.
And Miriam.
So Miriam is an important key factor here. Miriam is his sister. And when we keep reading, you're going to find out that she was also at one point a prophetess. Okay.
In those days,
verse
5.
Verse 5.
In those days died Zepho, the son of Eliphaz, son of Esau, king of Chittim, and Yanias reigned in his stead.
Okay, son of Esau. So you know who this person, you know where this guy's coming from. All right. Now it's giving you a context of people outside of the kingdom. We're not in this. We're not in the Mizraim right now. We're not in Egypt. Okay, it's just talking about in those days something else is going on outside of this kingdom.
And the time that Zepho reigned over the children of Chittim was 50 years. And he died and was buried in the city of Nabna, in the land of Chittim.
Verse 6.
And Yanias, one of the mighty men of the children of Chittim, reigned after him, and he reigned 50 years.
And mark that down. There's something about that he was a mighty man.
And it was after the death of the king of Chittim that Balaam, son of Beor, fled from the land of Chittim, and he went and came to Egypt to Pharaoh, king of Egypt.
Balaam. So this man, Balaam, he escapes and he comes to Israel, to Egypt, and they allow him in. Okay. So I don't know why he took off, but for whatever reason, he left and he said, time for me to exit. And he came into Egypt, Mizraim, because he was, you'll read the text. He's a very wise person. All right, so let's look. Let's see what it says here. Verse 9. Verse 9.
And Pharaoh received him with great honor, for he had heard of his wisdom, and he gave him presents and made him for a counselor and aggrandized him.
Yeah, that's raising him up. So they made him a counselor. Telahim 83 talks about the counselors, right? Okay, so let's read this. It really gets good now.
And Balaam dwelt in Egypt in honor with all the nobles of the king, and the nobles exalted him, because they coveted to learn his wisdom. And in the 130th year of Yisrael's going down to Egypt, Pharaoh
We've been here. We've been 138 years now. Start doing the math. They've been in Egypt 130 years.
Pharaoh dreamed that he was sitting upon his kingly throne, and lifted up his eyes and saw an old man standing before him. And there were scales in the hands of the old man, such as scales that were used by merchants. Sorry, I hit the wrong button. Backed out.
Okay, so you ever see the halls of justice, and they have somebody standing there with scales
And a dollar bill.
on the dollar bill? I don't know where it is. Where you see the scales, and it's usually a balance there, and you put weights on, you weigh it out. Okay, so he saw the Pharaoh saw this in his dream, this scale, and in the scale was a bunch of old guys like me, a bunch of old guys over on one side, and then on the other side was a baby still drinking his milk, still got his bottle, he's still drinking out of the bottle.
Let me read.
Huh? All right, let's read. You say baby lamb.
I'll read. And the old man took the scales and hung them before Pharaoh. And the old man took all the elders of Mitzrayim and its nobles and great men, and he tied them together and put them on one scale. And he took a milk kid, which is a goat, and put it in the other scale, and the kid preponderated over all. He weighed more. And the Pharaoh was astonished at this dreadful vision, why the kid should preponderate over all. And Pharaoh awoke, and behold, it was a dream.
Okay, so the old man outweighed all the old men. Verse 16.
And Pharaoh rose up early in the morning and called all his servants and related to them the dream. And the men were greatly afraid. And the king said unto his wise men, interpret, I pray you, the dream which I had dreamed, that I may know it. And Balaam, the son of Beor, answered the king and said unto him, this means nothing else but a great evil that will spring up against Egypt in the latter days. For a son will be born to Yisra'el, who will destroy all Egypt and its inhabitants, and bring forth the Yisraelites from Egypt with a mighty hand. Now therefore, O king, take counsel upon this matter, that you will destroy the hope of the children of Yisrael and their expectation before this evil arise against Egypt.
Okay, so the first counsel comes from Balaam, and he basically tells them, oh, this does not look good. Jasher 67, and we finally reached 21, verse 21, right? And he says, this is what you should do. You better be careful on how you take care of these people. So read through 21, and let's keep reading, because I can't wait to get to 24.
And the king said unto Balaam, and what shall we do unto Yisra'el? Surely after a certain manner did we at first counsel against them, and could not prevail over them. Now therefore give you also advice against them, by which we may prevail over them. And Balaam answered the king, saying, send now and call thy two counselors, and we will see what their advice is upon this matter, and afterward thy servant will speak.
Okay, so he made a call out for two counselors. There's a multiple of counsel, there's wisdom. So he already heard from Balaam, and then he calls out his counselors. He calls for his counselors. So there's some time that had to take place, because these two counselors did not live in the kingdom. These two counselors are famous people that most of us aren't aware that they even had a relationship with each other. The two counselors are two righteous people that Yah had placed in alignment so that they would be able, on any very, very hard to call out situation, Pharaoh would call on these counselors. Now you're going to find out who these counselors are.
And the king sent and called his two counselors, Reuel the Midianite and Job the Uzite.
Reuel the Midianite. Does anyone know who that is? Jethro Baldine. So Moses does not exist. Moses is not on the scene. His to-be father-in-law is there as one of the counselors. So when Moses actually runs away from Israel, from Egypt, and is helping these women out in the mountain, he runs into the women and they bring him to see their dad. The daddy is the same guy here that's giving counsel to Pharaoh way before Moses is born. Way before Moses is even conceived. His father-in-law is already saying, "Let my people go." He's already saying, giving out his counsel. Okay, so who's the other guy? Does anybody, I know some people already know this, but did you know that Job, the one that wrote the book of Job, was a counselor to Pharaoh? The one that says he was a righteous man? Go to Job 1. Quickly go to Job 1. What'd you say?
I got it.
Read Job 1.
There was a man in the land of Uz, whose name was Iyov, and that man was perfect and upright, and one that feared Elohim and eschewed evil.
He was perfect and an upright man that eschewed evil. That basically, when I look, I'm like, really? Jethro? Can you imagine in the hallway waiting to get in to see the king, and you're in the waiting room, and you look over and you see Jethro. He's going to be Moses' father-in-law, and Job, filthy rich. The one that had everything taken away from him, and then started a whole new family. That, if you don't go into Jasher, you don't see it. There are white rabbis that will tell you that this is true. It's not just Hebrew Israelites that's coming up with this. It's in the book. So you have Job, the black man, Job. You have, and right there, that name, Reuel means friend of God, friend of the Almighty. He was a priest. We know he was a priest. When you read through the Exodus, Shemot, you'll find that he was a priest. That he even knew, like, I don't know how to handle the situation. Let me call some righteous people. Let me call somebody that can help me out with this. 24 is deep. Highlight it. Underline it. Mark it down. Job is found talking to Pharaoh. And they came and they sat before the king. Verse 25.
And the king said to them, Behold, you have both heard the dream which I have dreamed, and the interpretation thereof. Now thereof give counsel, and know, and see what is to be done to the children of Yisra'el, whereby we may prevail over them, before their evil shall spring up against us. And Reuel the Midianite answered the king and said, May the king live forever. If it seem good to the king, let him have desist from the Hebrews and leave them. Let him not stretch forth his hand against them. For these are they whom the Lord chose in days of old, and took as the lot of his inheritance from amongst all the nations of the earth and the kings of the earth. And who is there that stretched his hand against them with impunity, of whom their Yah will
not avenge. Okay, so here he goes. I said there's a sermon in the sermon. So Jethro is about to preach. Jethro preaching now. He's like, okay, well, wait a minute. You know, he's the priest. So he allowed to preach, right? We're at verse 67. Chapter 67, verse 28.
Oh, 29. I did 28 already. Surely thou knowest that when Abraham went down to Egypt, Pharaoh, the former king of Egypt, saw Sarah, his wife, and took her for a wife, because Abraham said, She is my sister, for he was afraid, lest the men of Egypt should slay him on account of his wife. And when the king of Egypt had taken Sarah, then God smote him and his household with heavy plagues, until he restored unto Abraham his wife Sarah. Then he was healed.
Say what? Repeat.
And when
reverse
20 or 30. I read 30 already, but I'll read it again. And when
29.
29. Surely thou knowest that when Abraham went down to
Egypt, let this get past you.
That when Abraham went down to Egypt, Pharaoh, the former king of Egypt, saw Sarah his wife and took her for a wife, because Abraham said, She is my sister, for he was afraid, lest the men of Egypt should slay him on account of his wife.
So he went into the text. He said, let's go back and look at Genesis, and we're going to see Abraham. And Abraham is goes down and he tells his wife, tell him you're my sister, because you don't want to say that you're, hi Ebony, you don't want to say that you're my wife, because they're going to kill me, right?
And when the king of Egypt had taken Sarah, then God smote him and his household with heavy plagues.
With what?
Heavy plagues.
He gave him the Corona-19. He gave him the plagues, right? He said, I got something for you. All right. So he gave him heavy plagues. Now check out the restoration, the restoring ability of Yah.
Until he restored unto Abraham his wife Sarah, then he was healed. And Abimelech, the Jeriite, king of Philistines, God punished on an account of Sarah, wife of Abraham, and stopping up every womb from man to beast.
Oh, okay. He says, okay, now we looked at that one. Remember, this here was another episode in Abraham's life. Same situation, but this Pharaoh was getting ready to go after her. And what happened? He stopped them from having any babies. Anybody? Well, ain't nobody having no babies right now. Everything is clogged up. All right.
When their God came to Abimelech in a dream of night and terrified him in order that he might restore to Abraham Sarah whom he had taken, and afterward all the people of Gerar were punished on account of Sarah. And Abraham prayed to his God for them, and he was entreated of him, and he healed them.
Can we stop for a minute? Yah is amazing. He sent their own God after them. The man said he's in a dream. He had a dream in his own, and his God came up and said, "Yo, you realize what you're doing over here?" And then Abraham went to his God, his Elohim. You tell me these people don't have some type of power going on. They don't have some type of El that they're worshiping. That's why they can all have the same thinking, because they're all worshiping that same El. But we're not all worshiping the same El. They have an actual El that they're worshiping. I told the lady today, I said, when you replace, and as nice as you may be, when you replace the image of Yah, the creator, with the image of the creation, white Jesus, you have taken the creator and removed him with a creation, something that you created. Anybody that worships white Jesus is going to hell. Everyone that's worshiping white Jesus is going to hell. Yeah, I said it. And I slammed my hand down on the desk. Because he's a creation. He's not the creator. When you make something, mold something, and fashion it, you're no longer, you may as well be worshiping the cow. Because he's a creation of your own wicked imagination. I told you. Job is just sitting back like, go ahead, boy. Jeez, preach. Preach, Jeffro. All right, where are we at?
33.
33 is a hell of a sermon. It's like the man had a dream and his own God came to him and told him, you better stop. It says so right there in the book. And then you want a vaccine for the virus? You better reach out to Yisra'el and ask them to pray and ask for you to be cleansed.
And Abimelech feared all this.
Verse
33.
Verse 33.
And Abimelech feared all this evil that came upon him and his people, and he returned Abraham and his wife Sarah and gave him many gifts. Gave him and her with many gifts.
Y'all got to go, and guess what? I'm going to give you something. Just go with it. I got some gold. I got some of my sheep, some land. Just go, please. I told you he was preaching up a storm. 34.
He did so also to Isaac when he had driven him from Gerar, and the Elohim had done wonderful things to him, that all the water courses of Gerar were dried up, and their productive trees did not bring forth, until Abimelech of Gerar and Ahuzeth, one of his friends, and Pichol, the captain of his host, went to him And they bent,
bowed down.
they bent and bowed down before him to the ground.
You want? I'm not asking anybody to bow down before me. He went on, and he's just like, okay, and I got another point, and I got another point, and I got another one, and here's another one. All these are evidence that Yah is. Hey, Marky, that ain't Marky. Marky just got younger. How did he lose 3 years? What kind of what are you doing? I want some of that. Whatever you're giving them, I want some of that. Marky was 14 and now he's 5. All right. All right, I'm sorry. I got distracted. I saw someone that looked like someone, but he wasn't. You know, like me looking like Samuel. All right, where are we at? Verse 36.
And they requested of him to supplicate for them, and he prayed to Yahuwah for them, and the Yahuwah El-Hakai was entreated of him, and he healed them.
They in this situation, common sense jumped in. They're like, I want to get healed. Let's ask them to talk to their El. Maybe he can heal us. Get this disease off of us. 37.
Yaakov also.
I'm sorry, he ain't not done. He's not done. He's still preaching. Yaakov also, a plain man.
The plain man was delivered through his integrity from the hand of his brother Esau and the hand of Laban, the Syrian, his mother's brother, who had sought his life likewise from the hand of all the kings of Canaan, who had come together against him and his children to destroy them. And Yah delivered them unto their hands, and they turned upon them and smote them. For who had ever stretched forth his hand against them with impunity? Surely, Pharaoh, the former, thy father's father, raised Joseph from the son of Jacob above all the princes of the land of Israel. When he saw his wisdom, for through his wisdom he rescued all the inhabitants of the land from the famine.
So every time there was a problem, Yah was delivering his people. That's why, I'm gonna just say it as I see it. Yah's gonna deliver us. All we gotta do is trust in him. The hardest thing to do is all you gotta do is trust in him. Because we think we can trust in him, and then we try to go do something else and force his hand. Got to learn how to do it. All right. So y'all even raised up Moses in your father's father, your grandfather, right? He raised up Joseph, and he delivered him through that. So you should know that. You should know some of the history.
After he ordered Jacob and his children to come down to Mitzrayim in order that through their virtue the land of Mitzrayim and the land of Goshen might be delivered from the famine. Now, therefore, if it seem good in thine eyes, cease from destroying the children of Yisra'el.
Verse 40. Keep going.
But if it be not thy will that they shall dwell in Mitzrayim, send them forth from here.
Let my people go. Jethro was the first one to say it. Jethro was like, if you can't deal with them, let them go. Let them go into the land of Canaan. Let them go. Those words will be echoed and repeated some 40 years later by Moshe. But check this out, because the next one kind of baffled my thought pattern here.
Send them forth from here, that they may go to the land of Canaan, the land where their ancestors sojourned. And when Pharaoh heard the words of Jethro, he was very angry with him, so that he rose with shame from the king's presence and went to Midian, his land, and took Joseph's stick with him.
He took Joseph's stick. Jethro took Joseph's stick. Doesn't that make you question, like, how long has the stick been hanging around?
Did he give that stick to Moshe?
That's what my son just said. Anybody else with a stick? What's that in your hand? I'm just reading the text. Doesn't it make you wonder, like, is that the same stick that Moshe had when he parted the Red Sea? Why you even bring that up? He was so ticked off, he said, I'm out. Give me that stick. And verse 41, read verse 41.
And when
I know.
And when Pharaoh heard the words of Jethro,
hold up there, dude. When Pharaoh heard the words of who?
Jethro.
Jethro. Doesn't say, that's the first time his name pops up as Jethro. Just let you know that this Jethro, this Ruel, same person. Just to let you clarification of who he is. Some 30s, 40 some years later, he will be the one that takes care of the marriage ceremony of his daughter and his son-in-law. All right.
And the king said to Job the Uzite, what sayest thou, Job? And what is thy advice respecting the Hebrews?
Now here's Job.
So Job,
now, wait a minute. When you listen to a good sermon, the last thing you want is somebody else to come on. Like I've heard this. I've heard people invite someone to their church and he preached up a storm, and then they want to like one up him. That was good, but you know what he said? Such and such, and you're like, what are you? Did you invite him to preach, and then you preaching too on top of him? Let him do his thing, and everybody be quiet so we can think about Selah on the moment. Job. So what do you got to say, Job?
So Job said to the king, behold, all the inhabitants of the land are in thy power. Let the king do as it seems good in his eyes.
That's it. Job's like, you do whatever you want to do. You just heard a sermon. You heard it. You do whatever you want to do. There's a time and a place for everything. Sometimes there's a place to shut up. You may have all the wisdom in the world. You think, you know what? I'm gonna just hold my peace for a moment now. You'll let someone else fight your battle. You don't have to fight every battle. And Job is a perfect example because in his calamity, you know what Job did in his calamity? So I'm not going to curse y'all. I'm going to just sit back and chill. They came and started challenging Job. And Job kept his mouth shut for a long time. All right.
And the king said unto Balaam, what dost thou say, Balaam? Speak thy word that we may hear it. And Balaam said unto the king, of all that the king has counseled against the Hebrews, will they be delivered, and the king will not be able to prevail over them with any counsel?
So here you go. Some of us want a way out. We see a calamity and we're like, instead of just doing what we've already heard, we're like, can somebody give me something, another way out? And we'll wait until we hear something that tickles our ear as opposed to falling in line. And watch what happens with Balaam, what he says.
For if thou thinkest to lessen them by the flaming fire, thou canst not prevail over them.
Fire won't work.
For surely there delivered Abraham, their father, from Ur, the Chaldeans. And if thou thinkest to destroy them from with a sword, surely Isaac, their father, was delivered from it.
The sword won't work.
And a ram was placed in his stead. And if with hard and rigorous labor thou thinkest to lessen them, thou wilt not prevail over even in this.
You see the work. You see the hard work's not working.
For their
They're
father,
still going out having babies.
For their father Yaakov served in Laban in all manner of hard work and prospered. Now therefore, O king, hear my words. For this is the counsel which is counseled against them, by which thou wilt prevail over them, and from which thou shouldest not depart.
So he's about to have an evil aha moment.
If it please the king, let him order all their children which shall be born from this day forward to be thrown into the water, for by this canst thou wipe away their name. For none of them nor of their fathers were tried in this manner. And the king heard the words of Balaam, and the thing pleased the king and the princes, and the king did according to the word of Balaam. And the king ordered a proclamation to be issued.
So Balaam, in all his wisdom, as wise as he was, wisdom does not usher in salvation. In all his wisdom, he came out with I think I got an answer. Sometimes it's best to keep your mouth shut, like Job, as opposed to that he had already, at the beginning of this, Balaam had already given his 2 cents. He should have just shut up. But he listened, he stopped, and he waited, and then he gave him another chance, and he came out with the wicked device to try to destroy. Well, I know that you can't try fire, you can't try killing them, you can't try labor. Oh, well, we drown the babies. Good idea. Let's castrate. Let's do something to stop the babies from being able to produce the boys. In due time, they'll die off. Because if they got one, he may have sex with 3 or 4. But we get rid of the guys, get rid of them, cut them off. Cut them off. The idea is to erase the nation. Verse?
I didn't finish 49, so I started at the beginning.
49.
If it please the king, let him order all their children which shall be born from this day forward to be thrown into the water. For by this canst thou wipe away their name. For none of them, nor their fathers, were tried in this manner. And the king heard the words of Balaam, and the king pleased the king, and this pleased the king, and the princes, and the king did according to the word of Balaam. And the king ordered a proclamation to be issued, and a law to be made throughout the land of Mitzrayim, saying, every male child born into the Hebrews from this day forward shall be thrown into the water. And Pharaoh called unto all his servants, saying, go now and seek throughout the land of Goshen, where the children of Yisra'el are, and see that every son born to the Hebrews shall be cast into the river, but every daughter you shall let live. And when the children of Israel heard this thing, which Pharaoh had commanded to cast their male children into the river, some of the people separated from their wives, and others adhered to them. From that day forward, when the time of delivery arrived to those women of children of Israel who had remained with their husbands, they went to the field to bring forth there, and brought forth in the field, and left their children upon the field, and returned home. And
so they were given their babies. The husbands and the wives, the ones that stayed together, they were actually producing the child, and then they left the child in the field. They left the child in the field, and you're getting ready to get into something that, as we read through it, I'm just going to read through it. But this is probably like one of those things that there's probably some spiritual, metaphorical message there that I'm not sure that I can dive into all the way. But let's just read through it right now.
And Yahuwah, who has sworn to their ancestors to multiply them, sent one of his ministering angels, which are in heaven, to wash each child in water, to anoint and swathe it, and put it into its hands 2 smooth stones, from one of which it sucked milk and the other honey. And he caused its hair to grow to its knees, by which it might cover itself, to comfort and to cleave to it.
So, like, I'm just going to go this far with it. The children were Nazarites. They were Nazarites in the fact that y'all provided for them, and their hair grew down to their knees, and they drank and ate water and milk and honey. So what we have a problem when we can't understand how to make it work right. Like when we get married, we want to make sure that we have enough money to pay for the mortgage and pay for this and pay for that. And y'all's like, just take this first step forward and let me handle some of your situations. And we don't want to do that because we're like under strict counsel. We want to make sure that everything is lining up just right. They couldn't. All they could do was have the baby and leave the baby into the hands of Yah. Yah started providing. Come on, verse 56.
And when Yahuwah had compassion over them and had desired to multiply them upon the face of the land, he ordered his earth to receive them, to be preserved therein till the time of their growing up, after which the earth opened its mouth and vomited them forth, and they sprouted forth from the city like a herb of the earth, and the grass of the forest. And they returned each to his family and to his father's house, and they remained with them. And the babes of the children of Yisra'el were upon the earth like the herb of the field, through Yahuwah's grace to them. And when the Egyptians saw this thing, they went forth, each to his field, and with his yoke of oxen and his plowshare, they plowed it up as one plows the earth at seed time.
Mm-hmm.
And when they plowed, they were unable to hurt the infants of the children of Yisrael, so the people increased and waxed exceedingly. And Pharaoh ordered his officers daily to go to Goshen to seek the babes of the children of Yisrael. And when they had sought and found one, they took it from his mother's bosom by force and threw it into the river. But the female children they left with the mother. Thus did the Egyptians do to the Israelites all the days.
Okay, I'm not going any further. The highlight of our teaching today has taken me back to Job, and because I thought that was just so profound to hear Job and Jethro in their conversation with Potiphar, with Pharaoh. So.
Wasn't he the guy that tried to curse Israel later on? He tried to curse them for money or something?
Yeah, I was thinking of that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he becomes legendary in the Hebrew walk. You'll see this. You'll see his name popping back up a few times. Okay. Got a date in the late with this. Oh, okay. All right. So it's almost been two. What's that?
Why was he against the Israelites? Because he was Egyptian. I mean, a lot of he keeps coming
them not liking us.
Well, he wasn't an Egyptian. Balaam wasn't. He was an Edomite, I believe.
Mhm.
And they had been fighting back and forth against the Israelites.
Yeah. So, what are you saying, Adrian?
He was all about the money. He wanted to just kind of gain a profit from his prophetic lead and his wisdom.
And because it was all about money, he's like, we got to figure out a way to make Egypt successful. And it really wasn't that he was against us as he was for the money. That was the driving force behind him. It really wasn't a big concern what happened to us, but what happened to his bank account. So, Toda Rabah for being a part of us today. I know it doesn't seem like it, but it's almost been 2 hours. We've been online for 1 hour and 51 minutes. I'm grateful for you guys. Don't forget to support us if you can. We will be back next week. Tomorrow, y'all willing, Ima and myself are going to take a ride down to Atlantic City. Check out the place for the immersion and see if that's possible, and if it's all in alignment, then maybe the following Sunday we'll make a trip down there. Thank you, Total Rabah, Alodaba. We really do appreciate you guys, and really excited about just the opportunity to just have a moment with you and can share some truth. Hopefully, it's been rewarding for you as well for us, and look forward to seeing you next week at 2:00. Same channel. I almost did Batman thing. Same bat channel. We'll be here. Hopefully, if you have any thing that you would like to reach out to us, you can reach out to us at the ARC NJ on our Gmail account. Thanks for being here with us, and be safe. And I'm getting ready to go over to YouTube and finish up with my people on Zoom, but they're cutting off the stimulus. The government is shutting down the unemployment thing. People are now going to be able to be evicted because they're losing that, and so things are going to get kind of strange. Stay faithful, stay safe, keep yourself in a safe place, and keep yourself protected. And Yeshua is going to provide for us. He always has, and he always will. He will avenge us. He always has, and he always will. Shalom. Shalom. Shabbat shalom. All right. So